Hi, so my first attempt to do week one did not record all the way for whatever reason, so we are doing it again. First we have Azoth versus Pratham. This one goes by quite quickly. So the way Zoroark Isui works is that it specifically copies whoever's in the 6th slot. And so Terapagos was the worst choice for that because you can obviously see ordinarily Terapagos would turn into its Terra mode. And of course, he's got to do a Stone Axe. Cleavor's always got to do that. But it gets knocked out to a unboosted Rock Slide. This has got to be a bulletproof Ursaluna. That works out pretty well sometimes because it blocks out like Energy Ball and Aura Sphere. And we know that's not a Terapagos. And he knew that was a good predict. He thought that he was going to switch out to something to his ghost type. So he used his dark type move. And the poison jab is almost enough to do it. And Wigglytuff, despite having super effective, is not strong enough to knock out a low special defense Buzzwole. And he goes for Rock Tomb just in case there's a switch, because I think Rock Tomb would make it so that he outspeeds pretty much everything. And he thinks that the rocks are more important than taking out the Buzzwole. And he gets a Drain Punch, and if there wasn't a Terra Shell, that would have done 82%, and he would have healed twice as much. And he may have survived the Flamethrower. Switches out, traces the Water Bubble, which I don't think does anything good for it. I think it's sort of like Thick Fat, if I remember right. They both toxic each other. And Shadow Ball is super weak off of a little unevolved Porygon 2. And Caesar gets the Swords Dance and ends up not having to switch out for the whole rest of the battle. And if he was really clever, he could have went for another Swords Dance. And the Trick Room gets up. He was just trying to avoid a potential Discharge or Tri-Attack. Both of those are pretty bad for a Caesar. And he's Bullet Punch. And he outslows, so his Brick Break goes first. And I think Swellow normally gets Heat Wave. It's basically Pidgeot Mega, but weaker. And that was our fastest battle of the whole week one. Next is Ian versus Nick. Fairy versus take a lot to get for the Fairy to win. Pretty bad advantage. And I didn't even know Slurpuff got Sticky Web, but he's showing that he doesn't even care if he loses his speed. He's doing it on his own, and he's cursing. And his special defense is still pretty high, but also Slurpuff's special attack is kind of weak. And the Heavy Slam does so much. And his Unburdened procs, because he loses his Sweet Veil. And so all that defense he just built up is not good for him anymore. And Clear Body's nice because it blocks the stat drop. Obviously he doesn't have Bullet Punch, or else no, it was a switch. So yeah, he can just kind of Bullet Punch the whole rest of the team. Only Azumarill's gonna take neutral for it. Now that he's got the double, he outspeeds So his +1 bullet punch is going to do more than his prankster reflect. This is a horrible position to be in. And he goes for bullet punch even though he knows he's going to get hit back. And he survives a Shadow Claw. That's But thankfully there's a Vacuum Wave on the Iron Valiant. But it's still gonna take so much for Ian to win. He's got 3 Pokemon left against 5 Pokemon who are strong against them. But there's a Sticky Web. Is the Sticky Web gonna make that big of a difference? Close combat knocks it right out. He doesn't have Beast Boost. I think he was just baiting a close combat because he didn't want him to Vacuum Wave. That was kind of clever. Close combat has knocked out everything so far. I've knocked out so many Pokemon. Oh, yeah. And now... No, it's clearly not choiced because it used Vacuum Wave. And Make It Rain does almost enough. So what's Azumarill gonna do? It's gonna Aqua Jet. And he doesn't want to make it rain another time. So that would lower his stat he likes. And Earth Power knocks it out. It would have outsped even with the without the Sticky Web. And Smart Strike goes because this is a Scarfed Kartana against a modest Diancie. Now what's gonna win? The Scarfed Kartana or the Vacuum Wave? Oh, even if he is Scarfed, he's still faster. The Valiant is faster against the... What a show, folks. How did the Mono Fairy type beat the Mono Steel? It was... Iron Valiant did 99% of the work here. I don't think the Sticky Web even mattered. Yeah, Grimmsnarl, Azumarill, and Mimikyu did nothing. Nothing important. And in Chartwig League, we nominate all the Pokemon we think did the most work out of all the battles, and Ian's Iron Valiant ended up winning out. Next is Sean versus Alex. Sean had a very interesting position to be in because he was a little late. He was kind of like Ash in the first episode of Pokemon, and he had to wait for all of us to finish picking, and then he got a duplicate of one of the types. So someone had already taken 11 of the normal types, and he had to go from there and take the other normals. He didn't even get to pick his monotype. None of us got to pick our monotype. Well, we could trade for it, but we couldn't pick it. And so these are the leftovers. If you look at the usage stats, Ditto is number 1 in monotype. So he's pretty useful. It's pretty useful. And this goes pretty interestingly. He does a choice trick onto the Kecleon because he's... now he can't use Fake Out, which is a thing that Kecleon likes to do. And he knows he's locked in Knockoff. And he knows Knockoff is going to do less than 27% each time. And Ice Beam goes, but... and he does a successful predict and is immune to the Drain Punch. And this has got to be No, we know for sure it's not an Assault Vest Kecleon. And this Stealth Rock is going to be so bad for him. And I don't think even as a spinner or a defogger. And he goes for a... Ditto is almost always Choice Scarf, so he's probably locked in the Will-O-Wisp. So... he sends in the guy who does not mind getting a Will-O-Wisp. But he's playing a dangerous game here. He's engaging the Snorlax, who is not going to do anything. But he has Encore, so now he's locked in the curse forever. His speed's not going up, so he's always going to go second. So you can always just Encore it again, especially if it wears off. And he says, I'm like this Aurora Veil. I'm going to use one for myself. Even though he doesn't have Light Clay. And he survives so much. This Moonblast is not doing any damage. And he's got Thick Fat, so Ice Beam is doing nothing. Of course you have Thick Fat against a full Ice team. And he gets a full rest off, he gets the Chesto Berry. And this guy's cocky. He says, I'm gonna Power Up Punch, because I know you're gonna set up. And he goes for Power Up Punch again, even though he's gonna get knocked out by just a Body Slam. Weevil doesn't survive anything. That's why I didn't pick him for my Mono Dark team. And that was kind of... This was all part of a setup. The spikes were here for a reason. He's gonna roar everything. That's a classic Gen 2 Skarmory strat. And the Drain Punch, he heals more damage than it took. He's got to send in his only thing that's neutral to fighting, because he might go for a Drain Punch again. But he's got Brick Break. He knows all about Aurora Veil. And as long as something outspeeds this Ninetales, if something's got 350, the only thing that has a chance is Heliolisk. Yep. And Heliolisk is faster. It might even be Scarfed. And he's got Slush Rush, but he doesn't know about the... Oh, Alex is saying that might have been a 50-50. And he doesn't have Knockoff, he doesn't have Fake Out, but that doesn't make any difference, because he's going to get knocked out to his own Life Orb damage. And this Snorlax has done so much work. Snorlax is... And he probably looked up the calc here. He says, Curse is my best option. Otherwise it's gonna... But he got roared! So ultimately I was not his best option. Unless there was superpower on this set, but I think he would have... Why would you not put superpower on your Mamoswine against a mono normal? No, you can't Ice Shard! And the Expanding Force just knocked it right out. It might have been Specs, we don't know. And next we have Ron versus Rockwell, and Rockwell insisted that he have Flying, even though he randomly got Rock, or unless that was manipulated, but I was there, I saw it, it was not, it was random. It was not selected on his behalf. And this gets to be a pretty interesting battle. We got Flying versus Water, so it's a relatively even matchup. And so he is expecting Water, so he sends in his Water Resists. He knows he's going to get a Flip Turn lead, and he's probably going to get a Stealth Rock. He was probably expecting Swampert. And this Quillfish does a whole lot of work. He uses as many Intimidates as he can get. He uses all the Thunder Waves he can get. And yeah, he was expecting a Flip Turn, so he just Dragon-tailed. It's free damage. Or so he thought. Because now he can switch in the Quillfish right back and do another Intimidate. It was to his benefit. And it's a Thunder Wave Gyarados. That's so strange. See, Thunder Wave is amazing because it can just cancel half the turns. It's like better than Burn. It's better than Reflect. It's better than Light Screen. It's just cancel half the turns, and he feels pretty confident he can just spam Giga Drain here. Weather Ball is always kind of interesting, but Weather Ball is a dangerous game because this is a Charizard Y, so that he can turn that into a fire move whenever he feels like. But he has to activate his Charizard Y first. He has to Mega Evolve it. And it tried to protect, but it didn't work because it didn't attack. It was a switch. They lost the rock, paper, scissors. It took poison damage. Is poison better or is paralysis better? Because I think this is canceled a couple turns, and it's only the poison's only done a certain amount of damage. But that Protect Stall with the Leech Seed combo is pretty rough. And then Giga Drain for extra healing. And he resisted the Weather Ball because he made the right switch. And Tropius is probably super important to this battle. That's the only... probably not as much as Gyarados, but... everything has Flip Turn. There's the whole bottom three. Pelipper has U-Turn instead of Flip Turn. Greninja probably has U-Turn. Quillfish probably has Flip Turn. Or does it? And it survives the close combat, and it procced the White Herb. We didn't get to see its other moves, but... Man, fighting types are doing so much good this week. Here comes the sun. Alright, so this Solar Beam is very dangerous to use on against a rain team. And he Ancient Powers twice, and it procs. It happens. It finally happens. It only happens 10% of the time. And it goes for another Ancient Power. He probably would have not been able to do that if he didn't have the Ancient Power boost. And we get the Liquidation, in the rain with the Swift Swim and probably the Choice Band. And that was the move of the week, was the Rain Dance to cancel the Solar Beam. Oh, yeah, you silly puppy. And it doubled his speed and raised his attack one stage, and he's got Endure? What's he doing with Endure? Oh, it's the Lychee Berry. It's a little more risky than Choice Band, but he made it work. And he knocked out the Grass type using only Water type moves. So it was an option for him to put Ice Fang on everything, but he knew that the Stab plus Rain would be stronger than Ice Beam in most cases. And he got the burn. He doesn't like getting burned. Did he predict the Roost? No, he did not. He flipped turns. Yakuga is probably a Naruto reference I don't understand. And it had a Yache Berry, and it would have gotten knocked out if it weren't for Protean. Jeez. Protean came in clutch. Yeah, my favorite move, the Barraskewda set. I loved it. You have a lot more freedom with your movesets in Monotype because you don't have to have as much type coverage in your movesets. So we get to see a lot more creative things that you aren't used to seeing in normal OU. And last we have my battle versus your boy Grant. Yeah, so this ends up being the longest battle. I didn't know anything about Palmot because it's a new Pokemon and it's also in ZU. And I haven't even done that many random battles this year. And if I had somehow had the foresight to use Dazzling Gleam, that I probably would have won this. But I got Intimidate. I saw a substitute, so I wanted to use my multi-hit move so that I could, you know, do that 37% damage there. I thought I had this in the bag. I thought I was for sure winning this. And Destiny Bond happens. But he goes for close combat because he was expecting the Moltres switch. But if I had Destiny Bonded a second time, that might have been better for me. See, if this Intimidate really messed with me. Yeah, it gets pretty straightforward. I use my acid armor, and I think he's totally got this because he keeps lowering his defenses. And I Drain Punch, and that knocks out the substitute. But then all he has to do is switch, and he doesn't have the defense drops anymore. And he keeps getting to reduce his. This is crafty. Yeah. And luckily he lets me do that. But Nuzzle, jeez. The Nuzzle. Yeah, so many paralysis turns. You gotta really respect Parasub. You have to be prepared for that possibility. As you can see, now he's got 4 times attack, so my stupid little Reflect isn't doing much anymore. I can't burn him. I can't use Encore because he's a dark type. He's immune to Prankster. Yeah, you gotta watch out for. I thought that my Scale Shot would be enough for substitutes, but it wasn't. Anyway, that was week 1. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating.